He asked for the OMB and his lawyers to take action.
So why didn't he have that action taken before today, though? Because
you have to work out a process. Unless you're willing to write the check, Ed. I mean, you know, it takes some time. It takes some time to. And are you suggesting we don't, Ed?
I'm saying there are people who care about it, who want to get it done quickly.
And it's getting done.
The president says he's doing it today. Why won't you tell us what day he learned? Was it yesterday, the day before?
Ed, what I can tell you is when the president, and when the president found out, he was disturbed and he asked his lawyers and the OMB to get to work on a solution, and we expect a solution today. I mean, this is not that complicated. I know you're trying to make a partisan issue out of it, but
no, nice try.
But Ed,
you won't tell us a simple fact of when the president learned. You're trying to say he's outraged by it, so he wants to move quickly. If he learned last Tuesday,
I'm saying that when he learned about it, he asked for, directed those who work for him to find a solution, and we expect a solution today.
Okay.
Two quick things I learned there. It's best not to ruffle Ed or Jay. And another thing, how is it that Ed and his White House past still work? He joins us now from, look at this, outside the White House.
That's right.
Ed, that was pretty feisty here. Where is all this going? Because I guess now the Democrats or the leadership is meeting with the president as we speak, right?
That's right. House Democrats are. Look, it didn't need to be feisty. It was a pretty simple question, I think, which is what you didn't see is that Jay Carney started the briefing by saying, or at least high up in the briefing, suggested that the president was going to deal with this issue of military death benefits today because he was so outraged that these death benefits were not going to be paid for our fallen heroes. So he demanded that his lawyers at the White House and the Office of Management and Budget figure this out today, either working with Congress or through executive action. So then that brought up the natural question. The president's outraged today about this, but news reports started yesterday, maybe even the day before. There are Republicans who say that the Pentagon lawyers told them several days ago that these death benefits would not be paid. So it's a simple question. When did the president find out? And that's what Jay would not answer. Is that because maybe the president found out several days ago and initially did not do anything, and then now is saying that he wants an answer and he wants it fixed today? That is a simple question that the White House would not answer. We're still waiting for the answer right now. When did the president find out? The second thing is, yesterday, as you know, there was an immigration reform rally on the National Mall, even though the National Park Service right now, as we saw at the World War II Memorial and elsewhere, is not supposed to be involved in policing and staffing and whatnot, because they're supposed to be furloughed, you know, big events on the mall and whatnot. Now, there is a First Amendment exception if someone's having a protest or a rally, but what I also asked Jay was, what are the priorities here? If they haven't figured out this military death benefit, why did they allow this immigration rally to go forward? Take a listen.
Yesterday, there was an immigration reform rally in Washington. The National Park Service had to staff it. They say they do that because it was on First Amendment grounds. But how can you justify letting a rally like that go forward that could happen yesterday, could happen next week, before something like military death benefits are taken care of?
The broader question you ask goes right to the heart of the fact that there are myriad consequences to shutdown. And, you know, you can't run around trying to fix all of them. That's not the way the United States of America should operate. You should simply open the government.
So in fairness to Jay Carney, that is his broader point, which is that none of this would be going on, whether it's death benefits, these arguments about the immigration rally, none of it would be going on if, in his words, the Republicans would reopen the government. So that fight is going to continue. One piece of good news out of all of this is just in the last hour or so, the Defense Secretary, Chuck Hagel, has announced an agreement between the Pentagon and the Fisher House charities, which obviously, you know, they do amazing work for wounded warriors. They have now, the Fisher House has agreed to pay out these military death benefits while this government shutdown goes on. Presumably the government then down the road, the Pentagon and others, will pay them back, Neil.
Amazing. Ed Henry, thank you very, very much. In the meantime, they are meeting, but they're certainly taking a beating. A new AP poll shows that the president's approval rating is now at 37%, and Congress is less popular now than mother-in-laws. People are actually asked, who do you have a higher opinion of, Congress or your mother-in-law? Go figure. Mother-in-law swamps Congress. Former Democratic Virginia Governor Doug Wilder, not at all surprised. But, Governor, this is going from bad to worse. How do you see it all sorting out?
You've described it well, Neil, and I tell you, the American people are sick of it. They are so sick of it, they're at a point now where they're not concerned with whose fault it is. It's hurting everybody, and they're saying, look, pox on both your houses. I can say this, though. quite frankly, the earlier returns are showing that the Republicans have taken a beating on it. They ought to wise up and say, hey, look, we don't need to take any more of this beating. The Democrats are taking a beating. The polls are showing the the president is taking a very severe beating. Now, the problem is, what's wrong with people talking? What's wrong with sitting down? What's wrong with negotiating? The fact that I might not agree with everything that you have to say doesn't mean that I can't listen to you.
Yeah, but you
say,
know, Governor, I understand that rationale. Believe me, and I respect the heck out of you. But when you say, all right, I want to meet with you, but my position hasn't changed, just so you know, enjoy the crumpets or whatever, but I'm not changing my posture, then I'm wondering, well, why the hell did I cart my hiney over to the White House to listen to this? Because
well, that's not negotiation.
Right. So I guess what I'd
don't
like
disagree with
advice for either side. Then what would it be, Governor? Should there be ground rules here or what?
I don't disagree with your posture at all. There's no negotiation when you tell me that, look, I'm not going to change anything, but I'll talk with you. Well, what are you going to meet with me for? The whole point of negotiation is to sit and discuss and to settle and to come away with something that is worth having come to the table for. Now, when people are saying, look, I don't care what you've got to say, my mind is made up, that's not negotiation. And that's why I think the American people are sick of everybody. They're losing confidence in government, Neil, and that's the bad thing. More than this settlement needs to take place, a reformation of government needs to take place so that we don't have to be visiting this every 4 or 5 years or every so often as to say, well, we got a debt ceiling crisis or we got a shutdown crisis. Let's change our government so that that doesn't happen. Let's change the rules that fix it so we can't allow that to happen. The world is laughing at America today.
All right, so let's say we go past this October 17 deadline, Governor, which we're told we run out of cash. It's probably past that given the shutdown we've had and all the money we're saving. But we push past it. Now, the president has all but intimated that is a default. We're going to default. Do you think that is dangerous talk? And how long do you think we can go on not defaulting or avoiding defaulting and scrimping by on $250 billion a month or whatever?
Well, technically, we'll be able to pay bills. And I think many people are saying that, well, we need to get to that actual breaking point before we start talking about a breaking point. I think the president is in a position of leadership and can take some high ground now to the extent of saying, hey, look, I know this might be unprecedented. I know that some people might disagree with my stance, but I am more concerned with the American people, so much so that let's sit down and talk about whatever you've got on your mind. I'll tell you what's on mine. There are some things I hold very dear. Some things you hold very dear. Some things we know are not going to happen, Neil, so there's no need for anyone to come to talk about getting rid of health care. That's here. That's law. That's going to stay. Will it change in some fashion over the years? Yes. That's not before anyone for discussion. Now, to the extent that the president could say that without saying, I'm not going to negotiate, I'd say, look, that's not subject
well,
of
is there punishment we can mete out on, like, with my kids, Governor, it's like a timeout thing, or they lose Xbox for the weekend or something like that. Can we do something like that? Or I guess it's too far gone.
No, I don't think it's too far gone, and I think you touched on something very seriously. Look what is going to be happening to the American young people in years to come in terms of them paying for the deficits that we are ignoring at this time. That's why a timeout should be taken by the adults, and I don't disagree with it at all. But leadership has to come from the president. Leadership has to come from the members of Congress who are in positions of leadership, and they have got to understand that they should be affected the same way the American people should be affected. They should never have exempted themselves.
Governor, you're a class act. I always like having you on because both sides get ticked off at you, which I admire deeply. Doug Wilder, it's always a pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Trust me, they always do. Thanks, Neil. Always good to be with you.
I built a career on it. What the heck? All right.